So IGN just dropped a stat that kind of broke the internet. According to Circana's Q3 2025 Future of Video Games survey, over 60% of US gamers buy 2 or fewer new games per year. So let that sink in for a second. The majority of gamers in America, the same audience driving this $200 billion industry, are only buying 1 or 2 new games a year or none. Now that's wild because it tells us something huge about where gaming is going, how players spend, how studios survive, and how the culture around games is shifting forever. Today we're diving deep into that, why it's happening, what it means for developers, and how this could reshape the entire gaming economy. Let's start with what the data actually says. Circana's report shared by Matt Piscatella breaks it down like this. 63% of gamers buy 2 or fewer new games a year, 33% buy less than 1 per year. Only 4% buy more than 1 per month. That's the hyper enthusiast, price insensitive crowd Piscatella talks about. The hardcore players basically keeping premium game sales alive. Think about that curve. A tiny minority buying dozens of games a year, and the rest of us just waiting for discounts, subscriptions, or free drops. This isn't based on raw sales numbers. It's self-reported data from thousands of gamers across the US, but it lines up perfectly with how the market's been trending. People aren't buying games anymore, they're accessing them. So why are we buying less? First, the obvious one, money. Game prices have hit $70 for standard editions, deluxe or ultimate versions up to $100, and in an economy where everything's more expensive, groceries, rent, gas, dropping $70 on a single game feels like a luxury. Then there's also time. Modern games are massive. You can spend hundreds of hours inside a single title like Elden Ring, Fortnite, or Grand Theft Auto Online. So when one game eats months of your free time, why buy 5 more you'll never touch? And finally, subscriptions. Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, Epic's free weekly drops. We've entered a Netflix for games era where owning doesn't matter, as long as you've got a library full of choice. Also, free-to-play changed everything. Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, Genshin, all of them proved you don't need a price tag to dominate the market. They gave players a free entry point, then monetized attention. Instead of buying the game once, players now buy time. Battle passes, skins, limited drops. We used to pay $60 once, now we pay $5 here, $10 there, forever. And the numbers are insane. Fortnite made nearly $9 billion in its first 2 years without selling a single copy. If your main game gives you unlimited content for free, what's the point of paying full price for something else? That's how the economy flipped. Games don't compete for your money anymore. They compete for your time. Then came the subscriptions. Xbox Game Pass promised Netflix for games, 1 monthly price, endless titles, and it worked, sort of. It's convenient. You always have something new to play, but it changed how players value games. When 100 titles are 1 click away, none of them feel special. Even Xbox has admitted Game Pass users buy fewer games overall, even though they play more hours. That's great for engagement, but scary for publishers relying on big launch sales. And it's not just Xbox. PlayStation Plus, Apple Arcade, EA Play, everyone's chasing that same model. But just like Netflix and Disney Plus, there's a new problem: subscription fatigue. Too many options, too many monthly charges, too little time to actually play them all. So we cancel, bounce between trials, or just stick with one service, which means fewer total purchases across the board. And here's where it gets real. If most gamers buy fewer than 2 games a year, that has a ripple effect across the entire industry. AAA studios can survive because they have global reach and live service models, but mid-tier developers, the ones making $30 to $40 single-player experiences, they're getting squeezed out. Publishers are chasing sequels and remakes because new IPs are too risky when the audience won't buy as much. Meanwhile, indie devs are booming again, not because people buy more indies, but because one viral hit can carry an entire studio. Look at Palworld. Look at Hades, look at Stardew Valley. It's go viral or go broke. And that's why Piscatella said that small, price-insensitive group of players is basically holding up the traditional market. They're the ones pre-ordering, buying collector's editions, keeping premium games profitable. And everyone else, they're waiting for Game Pass, Epic, or Steam sales. This isn't just economics, it's culture. There was a time when buying a game meant owning it, a cartridge, a disc, a piece of your childhood. Now we don't own anything. We rent experiences from corporations. When a license expires or a service shuts down, poof, the game's gone. And for younger players, that's normal. They grew up in a world where free-to-play was the default and digital ownership didn't exist. Not about buying games anymore. It's about staying connected, playing what your friends are playing, staying inside a shared universe like Fortnite or Roblox. Those games aren't even titles anymore, they're platforms, constantly evolving worlds that never end. So if the average gamer only buys one new game a year, maybe it's because they already live inside one giant, never-ending one. So where do we go from here? Prices probably won't rise much higher, but subscription costs definitely will. Studios will focus even harder on retention, engagement, and micro content. We'll see more platform games, fewer one-and-done stories, more crossovers, events, live worlds that blur genres and brands. But there's also hope. AI tools and smaller engines are lowering production costs. Small studios can now do what only AAA teams could do 5 years ago. So maybe the next great game isn't a billion-dollar franchise. Maybe it's a passion project from a small team that cracks the code on how to grab those few yearly purchases from the rest of us. So here's the bottom line. The majority of gamers aren't cheap, they're cautious. They're overwhelmed. They're living in a world of too much choice and not enough time. Buying fewer games isn't a failure of gamers, it's a reflection of how the industry evolved around them. The real question isn't why are gamers buying less, it's what makes a game worth buying in the first place. Because in a world full of subscriptions, battle passes, and endless live updates, maybe the rarest experience left in gaming is just owning something that's truly yours.